everyone, and welcome to this week's sermon prep. This coming weekend, we're celebrating the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time, and we're still on year B. And as we can notice, we are making, slowly but surely, we're making our way towards the end of the year, the culmination of the liturgical year. And this week's reading, our first reading is from Isaiah chapter 35, verses 4 to 7. We hear God says, "Be strong, do not fear. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, with the recompense of God. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped." We realize that most of the time in prophetic literature, or in the letters, or in the prophetic letters that we find, the prophetic books, whenever God speaks of Israel or the chosen nation, He always refers to them as a single person. So when He says He's going to do something for a person, it's normally speaking about what He's going to do for Israel as a whole, as His nation, as His beloved one. And today we hear of the God who's going to open the ears of the deaf, and He's going to loosen the tongues of those who cannot speak. And it's then that the deaf shall hear, and the tongues of the mute will be released so that they can shout for joy. This is a time where God is speaking of a sort of restoration for the people of Israel, a time of a second liberation, if you like, where God is going to deal with His people in a proper way, in a loving manner. He's going to come back to them. And that's where they will shout for joy once God has opened their ears and loosened their tongues. Our responsorial psalm, "My soul gives praise to the Lord," that's the refrain. It refers to this God who preserves fidelity forever, who does justice to those who are oppressed. It is He who gives bread to the hungry, the Lord who sets prisoners free. Here we still continue that idea of liberation. We still continue that idea of a God who's going to liberate His people, a God who's going to take care of us, a God who's going to make us happy. In our gospel reading, our gospel is from the 7th chapter of Mark's Gospel, chapter 31 to chapter 37. And here we find an episode of where Jesus is going through the region of Tyre and Sidon by the Sea of Galilee. And a man is brought to Him. This man, they begged that Jesus should lay His hands on him, because he was unable to speak, neither was he able to hear. And this healing takes place in a rather very strange way. Jesus takes this man aside, He puts His fingers into his ears, and He put a bit of spit on his tongue. And the man is able to hear and is able to speak again. This, what we find in our gospel reading, is a fulfillment of what God had promised in the first reading, where the Messiah would come and liberate the people once more. He would open their ears and He would loosen their tongues. And rightly so, after this man has been healed, if you like, has been given back the gift of speech and the gift of hearing, Jesus charges him not to tell anyone about what has happened. But like anyone who has been healed by Jesus, this man is filled with joy, and he cannot contain that joy. He goes on and he tells everyone what had happened to him. This is a story about you and me. This is a story about God who wants to open our ears again, but now not just our physical ears, but the ears of our hearts. that we may be open to His word, that we may be open above all to those who are suffering, to those who are the outcasts of society. God wants us to pay attention to those people, to those brothers and sisters. And we find that clearly spelled out in our second reading. In our second reading, St. James tells us that we show no partiality to people. That if a man with gold rings and fine linen comes to the assembly, comes to the church, the temptation is to run in and take care of him at the expense of those who are poor, those who've got nothing. St. James says, you say to that person, sit over there, giving them a place of high honor or a high seat. And those who are poor, we tell them, well, stand over there or sit at my feet. We seem not to care about them. We seem not to worry about them. And he's asking, are we not now causing a division? Are we not dividing the people of God? So that is what the theme of this week is basically about. The God who opens our ears so as to listen to the cries of those who are suffering, so as to listen to the cries of those who are poor, so as to open to the suffering of our brothers and sisters and have the ability to go out and help them, and have the ability to go out and assist them. God is saying we have turned a deaf ear to them. God is saying that we have ceased to listen to those cries that matter so much, the cries of our own brothers and sisters. And I think it's an appropriate time that we have this gospel that reminds us about hearing or opening our ears to those who are less fortunate, especially since it's going to be our first Sunday in September. And we know that in our archdiocese, September is Stewardship Month or Dismal Month. Maybe it's going to be a time as well for us to relook at that, relook at our dedication, our helping of our brothers and sisters inside our faith, but those who are also outside of the church. How much are we still dedicated to helping? To helping, we know, with our time, with our talents, and with our treasures. Are we still faithful to that, or have we turned a deaf ear? Have their crying sort of numb us up? Have we become indifferent to the suffering of our brothers and sisters? Have we done exactly that which the Lord does not want? The last stanza of the responsorial psalm: the Lord who upholds the orphan and the widow, but thwarts the path of the wicked. The Lord will reign forever, the God of Zion from age to age. The Lord who upholds the orphan and the widow. We know that in ancient times, if you are orphaned or if you are a widow, it meant ultimate poverty, because it means that you could not provide for yourself. It means that you depended on the mercy of other people. And those are the people we should turn an ear to. Those are the people we should care about. Those are the people that we should be driven by our faith to stand up and to act for them. So that's what we'll be looking at this coming week. Those are our readings, and that's basically the message that God wants us to hear. And then we'll meet obviously during this coming week, and we'll explore more and more of that, of what really does God want us to do with our time, with our treasures and our talents, but above all, that God is trying to open us, to open our ears, yes, to listen to His word, but above all, to hear the crying of those who live around us. Well, until we meet this coming weekend, take care of yourselves, keep warm and keep safe. Bye-bye.